Hello, welcome to the Henry Carter Hall Libraries program, The Stories That Veterans Tell. Today is Thursday, the 28th of October, 2021, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Ronald Frattini, who has a unique story about being drafted and then making a career out of the Army. And I just have to tell you that this is my life partner, so just in case there are some inside jokes or something, you'll bear with us. Ron, tell us about your military experience. How did you end up in the Army?
Well, I was in college at the time, and I was put myself through school, so
Yeah.
I was sort of running out of money, so I decided to go nights for a semester and work and get a little bank going. But about a week after I dropped out of days, I got my draft notice.
Okay, and it's kind of a special date. Do you remember the day you were drafted? And you with your friends?
Oh, well, no, that was the day we were inducted.
Oh, the day you were inducted. Okay, okay.
Was the 16th of October.
How many years ago?
Oh, 51.
And so on. And when you were inducted,
53.
53, you went with people you knew, correct?
No, I didn't know them.
Oh,
before
you didn't? Okay.
No, I met them at the draft board, I guess.
Okay.
And two of them, anyway, Billy and Eddie. Billy Marazzi, I met him at the draft board, and he and I were together all through basic, all through AIT, and we went to Vietnam together, but we separated.
Okay.
Now Eddie Cronin, we didn't go to basic together. We went to AIT together,
Okay.
and then we were together the whole
The
2
tour.
years, yeah.
Wow. Wow. All right. How long from your induction did it take for basic and AIT until you went to Vietnam?
Well, it was 8 weeks, 16 weeks. Plus they gave you a week to go home and get your affairs together.
Yep.
And that's it. So I was drafted on the 16th of October, and beginning of March, we went to Vietnam.
Okay. And so, how did you get there? What kind of transport? And
I have a lot of fuzzy memories, but we flew out of Bradley, I believe. We took a bus to Bradley, and we flew with it was called Tiger Airlines.
Tiger Airlines.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had a couple stops in between. I think we stopped in maybe Texas, and then we stopped in San Francisco, and then Guam. No, went to Alaska, Guam, and then Vietnam. But the interesting, when we got to Vietnam, we were circling the airport, and no one knew why. And people going through the aircraft, but we didn't know anything about it. So when we landed, the plane was like that with the nose up in the air. And the pilot came out and said, well, I can tell you now, we're on the ground, but the front landing gear wouldn't work, and we had to land on our tail.
Oh my goodness.
So that was a good way to start.
That was a good way to start.
So now it was dark, and we had everybody running around. And the bus driver says, we get out of the bus, we have to get out of here, because no one's supposed to be on the streets after dark. So he's going about 90 miles an hour through his little villages, and I say I'm weak on the names. We went to this holding company.
Yeah, okay.
Where there's, thousands of guys, do nothing but waiting to get their orders,
Okay.
to see where they go.
This is a sit around and wait part of the Army.
Hurry up and wait.
Hurry up and wait, okay.
So every morning we had a formation, 3 times a day you had a formation. And you get in formation and they call names, and if your name was called, they tell you what unit to go
Yeah.
with. So if they don't call your name, you just go back and waste the day with whatever.
Is your adrenaline pumping? Are you,
Well, at some point, no, you just wanna get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
You don't wanna do, well, I mean, here we are, and we had no equipment, no
Yeah.
guns, no, nothing.
yeah,
And, we seem very vulnerable,
yes,
and we wanna do something.
yeah, you're there.
So,
How old are you now? How old are you when this is?
I was an old man, I was, 24,
Okay,
which was a problem too, cause all through basic and AIT, I was the old man. So they put me in charge, and I did not want to, I wanted to just get this over with.
yeah,
If I lived through it, fine, but don't put me in charge. But everywhere I went, they put me in charge. So, I was cursed.
you were cursed with maturity.
Yeah. And, most of the guys let's say most of them are 90% were draftees.
Okay,
The other 10% had joined. And they were young, kids.
yeah,
19, 20 years old.
yeah. All right, so now you get to your permanent base, or and where was that in Vietnam?
That was, it was a fire base. It was halfway between Anke and Pleiku.
Okay.
There was this Highway 19 that ran through the country. And I didn't know it at the time, but there's on this road there was a Mang Yang Pass, which was now I just learned from Facebook that Mang Yang Pass was like the most treacherous stretch of highway in Vietnam, because there was a lot of ambushes on that. And now I must have traveled that road 50 times.
What,
And I never knew it
Oh,
was. We used to we'd bring candy and throw it to the kids.
Yeah.
Because all the kids would line up if they saw a convoy going by
Yeah.
or something. And we used to throw candy to them.
Oh, wow, wow. All right, so what was your base like? And what were you were in artillery?
Artillery, yes. I was, I went in artillery. Well, of course, you don't pick where you wanna go. I guess it has to do with your aptitude scores
Yeah.
and all that, so. I was in artillery, and I was trained in, Fort Sill, which, that's another funny story.
You could tell it.
Billy and I went to, by now we're best friends.
Yeah.
And our mothers were best friends. They didn't know each other at all
Yeah,
before.
before, but now they were.
Now they're best friends, and so Billy and I had to be in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, on January 2nd. So we couldn't get a flight out on January 1st. So we had to take a flight on New Year's Eve.
Okay.
We didn't really care. So we get down to Oklahoma City on New Year's Eve. It must have been about 6 o'clock at night. And we get a motel, and of course we have no clothes. We have our dress greens on that we try out to travel with. So we're walking around, and we said, well, maybe we'll go get a beer somewhere. And we don't know that Oklahoma City was a dry town.
So that wasn't gonna work.
Well, we found, we saw this private clubs. If you go to a private club, it's okay.
Okay.
So we, you know, we're just walking around and we said, well, we'll try to get into a private club. We're walking down the street and there's a guy outside in his trunk of his car and he's drinking shots and he says, hey, where you guys going? I said, we don't know, we just got in town, we try to get a beer or something. And he says, well, come here. He says, you want a drink? Sure. He says, I own this place. It was, I think it might have been the Kit Kat Club. I'm not sure.
Ooh.
Or that's where we were going to the Kit Kat Club. But anyway, this guy says, I own this place. He says, come on inside. And the place is mob. You know, his friends is New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
So he yells out, he says, oh, I want everybody's attention. He says, these two guys are with me. I don't want to see them spend a nickel tonight. So everybody was buying us drinks, which was, it was, so we had quite a New Year's Eve.
Quite a New Year's Eve. Okay, when, I know you have told me many times about your living accommodations and how responsible you were for making things feel like home in Vietnam, and I think it's remarkable what you accomplished. So, can you talk about that?
Yeah, all right. Well, when I got, what they were saying, I trained on the guns.
Yeah.
They call them gun bunnies. So I was a gun bunny, and you know, I'm a private, nothing, get over there, so I get to assign to a gun. Now, this is in March, April maybe, and living conditions were wonderful. When we were living underground, they had like bunkers.
Yeah.
Underground, it was, you know, it was terrible. And
Was this the monsoon season?
it was coming.
It was coming.
So then we had to build bunkers on ground because the monsoons are coming, you know, because we'd be flooded out. So I guess I don't even know if I was on the gun for a week. And I met someone, my buddy Elmer. And
yeah.
and he convinced me to go to FDC. Well, the battery commander asked me if I want to go to FDC.
Which means?
Fire Direction Center.
Okay. So you would be in charge of something?
Well, no, but we figure out, we get the calls for fire and we figure out the targets.
Oh, okay.
And then we relay the information to the guns and they would fire it. And I kept telling him, no, you know, I'm trained on the guns, blah, blah, blah. So Elmer kept saying, come on. He was in FDC. Come on, you gotta come over. So I said, all right, I'll give it a shot. So I went over and yeah, it was better living.
Okay.
We was like 8 hours, we worked 8 hours on, 8 hours off. Something like that. We had to work 8 hours and then, there was nothing to do because you couldn't leave the fire base.
Right.
So, but it was cool, and then we had bunkers. So now we built a bunker. The first thing you do, you have to build up your FDC, of course. So that was all secure. Then we worked on bunkers, and or hooches, and our hooch was cool because we put the wood floor and everything, and then I built little dressers into the wall, and I built bunk beds. So it was cool. It was really cool, and that's where I lived for almost a year.
Almost a year. Oh my goodness. Do you remember any of your commanding officers during that time?
Yes, I had two. One was, can't think of his name. He was very funny. He was a West Pointer.
Yeah.
He was a Captain Gray, I wanna say, I can't remember. But, he's the one that wanted me to go to FDC.
Yeah.
But he was, very humorous, you know, like we'd be working, and he'd come in with his camera and he'd say, "This is where it all starts," you know? They go on the gun and take their picture,
Sure.
you know? It was funny.
No.
Then he left, and this Captain Ewing came away. Now, Captain Ewing was a hard charger.
Okay.
He was a lifer, and he was a good officer, but not many people liked him
Okay.
because he was hard.
It was hard, yeah. When you were in this area, about how many other soldiers were in your company, your,
Oh,
what?
okay. Well, the fire base, we had, our battery was maybe 100 and something people.
Okay,
Then there was a engineer unit, they had about 100 people.
Okay.
And then there was a first cav unit, who, they probably had 100 people.
wow,
And then we had, there was a whole lot to firing these guns. We had big guns, at 175 and 8-inch. The 175 had a range of like 26 miles.
26 miles, oh my goodness.
Yeah. And the 8-inch, maybe, the barrel was like a telephone pole.
Wow,
But the 8-inch was shorter, it maybe 15, 16 miles. But it was, I mean, you could put it in a window 16 miles away if you had a good observer.
wow. So you're getting reports from soldiers out in the field about
Yeah,
where,
that was
and-
always a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, or even, you had air observers too, got
Oh,
helicopters.
okay, yeah,
And they'd call in for, but the guys on the ground, we fired a lot. Now, the first cav used to go out on patrols, because we were with them, so we supported them.
yeah,
And, but they never knew how to call in fire. They would call in fire over themselves, which is, you never do. We couldn't shoot.
if it was over
Yeah,
your personnel,
because you
yeah.
don't know, you know,
Right.
it might be a short round or something. And they just didn't know how to call in fire, so we had the Captain Ewing, would have us volunteer, who wanted to volunteer to go on these patrols, and be a radio man and call in fire, and I volunteered every single time, but he never would let me go. I just wanted to go so badly, you know, because, you know, I just wanted to see what a patrol was like.
Yeah, that's,
But he would never let me go.
now, were you able to have R&R when you were in Vietnam?
I did, I had 2 of them.
You had 2 of them, all right, and what,
Well, one in country,
okay, and where did you go in country?
a place called Vung Tau. It was just a little, it was a hotel in Vung Tau. And no one wanted to go. I didn't want to go, but he convinced me to go because, well, first he wanted to get rid of me, because I didn't go. I had a R&R in Australia. So anyway, this came up, and it's one of those things, if nobody uses it, then you'd lose it.
Yeah.
You know, so he wanted me to, I said, all right, so I'll take it. And I met some guy from headquarters, I can't remember his name. But we got to Vung Tau. You find military transports.
Okay,
Wherever. So we got there, and this hotel is, you know, surrounded by wire, and, you know, it's a beautiful hotel.
is it on the water, is it,
No, I
No.
don't know where the hell it was. I really don't know where the hell it was. But we get there, and there's a bar, of course, in the hotel. So we go to, now we're drinking beers, 10-cent beers. So we're, just, it's he and I, and maybe a couple of people in the bar. And we just got there. We just dumped the shit in our room and came down and we're having a drink. So we're there for, I don't know, we're there for maybe half an hour. And the bartender brings a bill. We said, what's that? So, happy hour. Beers were 5 cents.
Oh my God. Now, what kind of beer? Was it American beer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a 3.2 beer, near beer.
All right, so during the war effort into Vietnam came beer.
Oh yeah, we had, what the hell they call them? We had every month, I think, we'd get like a pallet of stuff from, I can't get, what the hell do they call it? Well, anyway, this pallet of stuff would come in, the supply sergeant had it, and it would be beer and cigarettes and candy and stuff that,
Yeah.
and you give it out like every, maybe a section would get a case of beer.
Okay.
And that would have to last for a week or whatever, but it was, something, but we were very good friends with the supply sergeant.
Was that a smart thing to do?
So, well, he was one of our guys. We used to, have, there's probably a dozen of us, most of us from FDC.
Okay.
And a couple of the crew chiefs, and the supply sergeant. We'd have little parties at night.
I heard you had some custom-made apparel.
Well, that was custom made, but we bought everyone. We had smoking jackets, silk
Smoking jackets.
and we would smoke the local crazy tobacco and and drink beer and play music. And somebody had a reel-to-reel tape player.
Oh.
Yeah, so we play that, and we play this great music and drink beer and smoke weed and tell stories.
In your smoking jacket. All right, now you left Vietnam in February of '69. Was
I left in March. I guess it was March. Yeah.
Okay. And when you were, where did they send you to when you were coming home?
They sent me to Fort Hood, Texas.
Okay.
Which wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Okay.
I was in Fort Hood in the summer.
So it was really pleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here at Fort Hood, we got to Fort Hood, and I guess I was alone. There's just one guy from West Haven I did meet who was stationed there, but not anywhere near me.
Okay.
The place is huge.
Yeah.
So I get to Fort Hood now. Everybody there is an E5.
And that means they're a
They're
higher rank?
sergeants,
They're
yeah.
sergeants, okay,
And no, that was the same.
okay.
And
And you were a sergeant at this point, you got promoted through your tenure. How long did it take you to be promoted to sergeant?
I was still in Vietnam. Okay, it was just before I went on R&R. I'm not sure.
Okay. But that was pretty quick.
Yeah, I kind of backed the commander into it. 'Cause I was working in FDC, and I was in E4.
Yeah.
And I had like 10 people under me. So I told him, it's not right. I can't, Need for is not supposed to be
Yeah.
have responsibilities like that.
So-
So he gave me a B5.
All right, after you finished, how long did you have to stay in Texas before your service active
Oh, all
duty
right.
was
Well, I was
finished?
supposed to stay until October,
Okay.
because that's when I went in.
Yeah,
But I got an early out in August. Actually, I think it was right before my birthday.
Okay.
Maybe day before my birthday, to go to school.
Good.
So I went back to school.
all right. Now, your mom had something really good waiting for you when you got back,
Yeah.
didn't she?
Of course, there was a party, she had a party, and, she's, during the party, she said, "Oh, Ron, go out in the garage and get some more chairs." And I'm arguing, "Well, we don't need any chairs." Yeah, I need a couple of folding chairs. All right, so I go out in the garage, and she had bought me, now, when I went in, before I went in, I bought a brand new Corvair,
Okay.
Chevy. And, it was just 5-speed on the floor. It was nice, it was a cool car. And so when I went in the service, I gave the car to her.
Yeah,
And, she couldn't drive it. Stick on the floor, she
Okay.
didn't want that, so she sold it and bought, so I go in the garage and there's a 58 MGA sports car, convertible, sitting in the garage. Oh, she bought me that, so God, I wish I still had that car.
I bet you do.
That's probably worth a fortune.
All right, you are, I don't think there are as many people who were drafted and then ended up making a career in the National Guard, but that was the story, that's what you did. So talk about that part of military service.
Well, when I got out of the service, I'm like most other draftees, I just didn't want any part of anything, just burn all your uniforms and, get rid of anything that remind you of the Army. And, I met someone, and her father was, a command sergeant major in the National Guard in New Haven. So he convinced me to join the National Guard as a part-time job.
Yeah,
So I did, and I was in New Haven for a while with him, for probably a year. And, it wasn't bad. I mean, I saw what he did.
yeah,
And he was a full-time technician. So when the job opened up in Hartford, for supply technician, he convinced me to apply, and I got the job. So I worked in Hartford, in the Brainerd Airport,
okay,
for maybe 2 years. I was supply technician, and I worked with somebody from Milford, and we used to carpool together. And then he transferred somewhere else, and he went left, and some other guy came in, this Bob Barnett, who was, he was unique. And, he was leaving, and he told me to apply for the job, his job. I said, I didn't know anything about it. He said, "Of course you do."
yeah,
So I applied for the job, I got the job, and I was a administrative technician for about a year, I guess. And this was a helicopter unit. And then the job opened up in Branford. Well, that was a horror story. It had a real jerk as a technician there. And he was being demoted, blah, 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 blah. And so the job opened up in Branford, so I applied for it because I lived in East Haven, it was perfect. Except, the guy that was demoted, they made him my supply sergeant. So I did have a friend in Harvest, General Carragher. Well, he wasn't a general, he was a colonel at the time. He was brigade commander. And he said, look, if you have any problems, you let me know. Blah, blah. So for about a month, it worked out a little, but he was just, he would never help me with anything, you know. So finally I went to this colonel, I said, General, I tried to say, I can't work with him. So they transferred him out.
Okay. And then peace reigned.
Hmm?
Then it was a good working.
Well, yes and no. They hired this other guy. No, I think I had picked somebody. Well, anyways, an old timer came in, so he wasn't bad. But I inherited another supply sergeant at one point who was, he was demoted and, not demoted, he was moved around because nobody wanted him, because he had a lot of problems, and so they sent him to me.
Oh, good.
And he was a big problem. At one point, he didn't show up for work, and I found out from the police, of course, that he was holding his wife and kids hostage in his house, and they had a big stand-down.
Oh, no.
Oh? So, I don't think, they did remove him from Branford. It was something about, I think it was, you stole ammunition and sold it or something.
Oh, this is not good, no.
So that he was, but they didn't fire him.
Oh.
They gave him another job somewhere. Even like this other guy that was with me that was demoted,
Yeah.
that couldn't work with
Yeah.
him. They sent him, and he ended up in Hartford, and they promoted him to sergeant major.
And so,
Yeah.
When you look back at your time and your service in the military, how would you describe the way it shaped your life? Or what you learned from it?
Wow. I don't know. I don't know if it helped me or hurt me. I don't know where I would have been had I not gone into
Okay.
service. If I stayed in school, I don't know. I might have been a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
That was my original intent.
Yeah.
I don't know.
When you came back from Vietnam at a time when service in the military was ridiculed or ignored or absolutely, there was just such backlash. Did you experience any of that?
Well, I know backlash because, my friends were my friends and they didn't, we never got acknowledged.
Yeah.
Or ridiculed, so.
Okay.
It's, it was a wash.
How about now when people are acknowledging it?
Yeah, it's a little late.
When-
And I never know what to say,
Okay,
so you
people
think
say-
of the service,
yeah.
well, was my choice. But, you know, I don't know, sometimes, I think, well, when we first went to Vietnam, I don't know if other guys felt the same way, but you didn't expect to live. You didn't think you'd live through it, and, you know, but that was okay, because,
It's war.
hmm?
It's war.
Yeah. You know, and then you think, well, if I live through it, I'll be lucky. If not, I didn't want to be wounded.
Yeah. And so, the idea of doing all you can for your comrades in arms, was that part of the mindset of getting through it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, there was no politics in
Okay.
Vietnam. You were there, whatever the circumstances, but you didn't care. Well, the Vietnamese people had no idea either. What they didn't care who was in charge of the government. All they wanted to do was be farmers and be happy. But you didn't. I was protecting you, and you were protecting me.
Yeah.
That was it.
That was it.
That was
it. Is there anything that you wish people who never served would know about what it's like to be in the service?
Well, the whole idea of the teamwork. You got 100 people together for one mission.
Yeah.
What's your aim? You're not. We'll do this for these people. We'll do this for these people. It's just one mindset. And it was. I mean, there were some missions. We had some. This is probably sad to say, but like when we have fire missions.
Yeah.
We're killing people, and we had when our captain Ewing. There was some troops that were surrounded in this area, our
Okay.
area. And it was like, maybe a platoon. And they were pinned down, surrounded by Vietnamese. They couldn't get out, they ran out of ammunition, the whole thing. And they're calling for fire support. So now, number one rule is you never fire over anyone's head, because.
Yeah.
But in this case, we had to, but we didn't. They didn't have a good forward observer.
Okay.
So to
Pinpoint.
Yeah. So this Captain Ewing gets in a helicopter, because the cab next to had a helicopter. So he goes up, and he is our forward observer, and he's calling in our fire just around.
Yeah.
So this was like, anyway, we got him out. They got him because of him, and
Yeah.
because our guns were so accurate and all that. So that was like a big celebration.
Yeah. You got and how many, what was the number of forces that were surrounded, the number of soldiers?
I don't know, they, probably 1,000.
Whoa.
And I
Wow.
don't know, but we kill them all, but they ran off finally.
Yeah.
And we got the
I mean,
guy
that must have been, with the helicopter was really in a dangerous position, because it could have been shot down.
Yeah, but he knew.
Okay.
He was,
Okay.
that was the thing, He knew how to go on fire.
Okay,
you know.
okay,
You wouldn't trust anybody else.
okay.
But
Wow.
he was, and he got an air medal for that.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Well,
Yeah.
Sergeant Frattini, I am so happy that you are interviewed and that this will be part of your legacy and your story. Thank you so much.
Okay.